And Dina's like, there has to be some way for her to remember me. She's like, oh yeah. She reaches behind, grabs Sam's ass, and Sam's like, oh, my cheeks. Dina? And she's like, yeah, babe. Bah! And she punches her. But it just took a bit of grab ass, chat. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content on my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcast and videocast. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video.
What happens now?
We're going to go ahead and jump into tonight's review. Now, before I typically get into the nitty-gritty details, chat, I have to ask you a very specific question. That question being, how many of you have seen Fear Street 1666 Part 3? I'm very curious about this. I've seen it. You obviously, I hope I have. If I didn't, I'll be fucking just making shit up for this review. But I want to ask you, have you guys seen it? That's my question. Yeah, though that was quick. Probably that was new kind of accident. They fucking, the cleanup was quick too. Dark Slayer, I haven't watched any of them. Actually, no, I have not. I can't say indeed I have. And I was shook. You were shooketh just like I was. Hamilton Burger says nope. Kevlar Acola. Oh, I absolutely watched them. Good. No Women. I haven't watched any of them as well. The Elite. Great horror trilogy. That's what I was saying. I binge watched all those shits in one day. It is kind of like, surprisingly, like one of the best horror trilogies out there. It's kind of crazy. It's like, oh, wow. They did a great job for the most part. I mean, I have criticisms, I have problems with them. But still, it's like, yeah, these are all entertaining. Each one is good. Each one is very good. Each one is at least good. Thirdly, I love the trilogy. Film Freak. Hi, ho. Good to see you, Film Freak. Hope you're doing well. Elite Good Times. Jason, a fun trilogy. It is a fun trilogy. R.L. Stein clearly said, fuck these kids. Fuck them. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to gouge their eyes out. I'm going to strangle their dogs. I'm going to make their pigs eat each other. It's like, he's like, I don't give a shit. He's like, you know, he wrote all those, because I was a Goosebumps fan. I read Goosebumps. Never read Fear Street. I think because I went from Goosebumps to like Stephen King, I skipped over like those teen horror books and just went straight to Stephen King like other people, like Dean Koontz and all those guys. So I never read Fear Street. So this is my first exposure to them. And I really love them. It kind of makes me want to go like, maybe I should check those out someday when I have the time. But it's been cool to see these adaptations. Apparently, like, fans of the books that these three are based off of have been pretty positive. Like, yeah, they did a really good job. I was like, that's kind of great to hear. It's like everyone seems to be like, yeah, these are good. I mean, there's some people that don't like them. I have read reviews, but for the most part, I think a lot of people do like them. It's kind of cool to see that the fans are like, yeah, they did right by these books. It's surprised it took them so long to adapt them, chap. But hey, I'm happy about it, and I'm happy to be reviewing this one right here for you, chap. The final chapter. And this one's interesting, Jay. This one's interesting because we're not going, you think, okay, you know, we went in 94 and went to 1978. I mean, what, are you going to be in the 50s now? Are you going to be in the 60s? Nah, chat. We're going back 300 fucking years and some change, chat. Right back to the Puritans, them Pilgrims. So we slaughtered all the ancestors, their ancestors, they slaughtered all the Native Americans, and they're now occupying that indigenous land, chat, okay? They're getting fat off the land, all the fucking crops and fruit and livestock and shit, but they're gonna get theirs, chat. They're gonna get theirs. Oh, they don't even mention that they slaughtered the indigenous people. They're just kind of like, they have a throwaway line, though. It's like, oh, yeah, she, you know, this person was going, trading with the indigenous people, and they gave her all this black mumbo-jumbo juju magic. And it's like, oh, shit, well, that's gonna come into play. To a degree it does, chat. But we are going back 300 years. But before we start 300 years ago, chat, we got to do a little recap, chat, because we figured out Dina, Josh, Ziggy, they have the hand, chat. They have the hand of Sarah Fier, and they're going to reunite the hand, chat, which was buried at the Shadyside Mall with her fucking body, okay, they found off of the side of the road, chat. So they drove back there. Fucking Dina, she's got the hand. She puts the hand right smack dab there, and she goes, goo! And she goes cross-eyed, chat, and derpy. And she's transported to 1666. And she, chat, she is seeing it through the eyes of one Sarah Fier, the witch. Or was she a witch, chat? Was it a lie the whole time? Let's fucking get to it, chat. Because, boom! Dina wakes up as the witch chat, and she's over a big old trough chat of water, and she's like, huh? And she's covered in blood chat, looking at reflection in this just disgusting looking water, and she hears someone calling her name chat, but it ain't Dina, it's Sarah, and she comes to it, and we see that Dina, even when she looks at the reflection, she looks like some, Puritan-looking pilgrim white girl in 1666. But when we see her when she comes up from the water, she looks like Dina. And what's cool about this episode is that they bring back all of the original actors from both 1994 and 1978, playing either ancestors, either playing like their ancestors, or playing like new characters, like in new roles. So I thought that was cool. And I think the reason why they did this was because they didn't want to people aren't going to be attached to these characters. So let's just cast them all as people that we've already seen, and you already feel acclimated, you already feel like you're connected with them, which was very smart on their point, very smart on their part. Now the accents are kind of all over the place because they all talk like this. It's like, when the moon rises, we'll go out and get high. It's like it's Irish, kind of Irish sounding, old English. It's like old English sounding accents, and they're just going all which way, and some people have them, some people don't. For the most part, it's fine. It's fine. I didn't mind it. I was like, it's okay. This is a teen version of this. It's like, it didn't bother me at all. I got used to it after all. I thought it was okay. What is weird, though, is that they clearly have people who are, they have minorities, like they have black and brown people here. And I didn't think like these peasants, these pilgrims would be very accommodating to people of a non-white perplexion. But again, it's just like, it makes sense because Dina is seeing this through Sarah's eyes, and she's seen people that she loves in these roles. And it's like, I get what was going on, and I was totally okay with it. It was fine. College level play accents? Yeah, it is basically college level play accents, but it's fine. I was like, it's okay. I didn't mind it. But she's over this trough chat, and she's looking at herself covered in blood, the water staring at herself, and she comes up because she hears her brother, Josh, chat, it's Josh, he's there, and he's like, Sarah, you have to come here, she's still birthing the piglets, and it's like, she's not covered in human blood, chat, she's covered in pig blood, and we see this big old fucking piggy. Stacey, man, welcome to the stream, hope you're doing well. We're talking about the birth of the piglets, we're talking about childbirth, okay? And so she goes over there, and we see all these little fucking piglets, but one of them piglets is too fucking fat, and he's stuck inside of his mom's vagine. He's vagine stuck, chat. She goes over, and she takes the knife, and Josh is like, what are you gonna do? She's like, I'm gonna cut up her vagina. It's like, oh no! And she goes, and she sticks that knife right in there, chat, and the little piglet's been born, but she had to, twirl that thing in there like a helicopter blade. But she got him out. And Josh is like, you did it, Sarah, you did it, you saved the piglets and the mother. And it's like, hell yeah. And she takes the last piglet and she puts it in a bag. And she slings it over her shoulder. And then she goes inside her house where we see their dad, chat. And I don't know what I was expecting because we don't see Dina and Josh's dad. And throughout the entire, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't see him. We know of him. Like, he writes a message down at the end of this episode, the end of this movie. But we never see him. But I think the dad is the science teacher from Stranger Things. Am I wrong? Thank you. Thank you. Peter Pan Central with $3. Stay gold. I'm going to stay gold, baby. You stay gold too, Peter Pan Central. Thank you for $3 towards the video game poll. I appreciate that. I think we're only 22 bucks away from the next video game poll. Thank you. So I thought that was him. I was like, this guy seems so familiar. And it makes sense, though, chat, because that actor is in Stranger Things and the director of this trilogy is the wife of one of the Duther brothers. So she's like, yeah, listen, you're not working on Stranger Things right now. I'm going to use all your actors. And so he makes his debut here. So I was like, I thought that was kind of cool. Like, you look so familiar. Usually he's bald and they have him in this really big black wig and then with this big black beard. I was like, that's him, isn't it? It looked like him. And he's just saying, oh, Sarah, you done right by me. You're such a good daughter. I mean, when your mother died, it crushed me, but you've been supporting this household. I just wish you'd go and marry that Solomon Good. And Sarah's like, listen, Solomon Good's a great man. It's like, oh, good, like the Good family, chat, like Nick Good. I was like, oh, look at that, look at the connection there. That's like Solomon Good was his ancestor. But she's like, listen, I know you want the best for me, Father, but I'm not going to be marrying Solomon Good. I don't want to. She's like, shouldn't a father want his daughter to marry someone who is as good as Solomon is? Like, don't worry, father. I mean, I have to make sure I'm here. I can't have you at home eating all our bacon. He goes, ha, 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 all right, daughter, I'll see you later. And then she goes out, Chad, and we see all the past characters from 94 and 78. They're playing new characters. Like, we see Ziggy and her sister, they're playing new characters. We see Simon again. He's not dead. He doesn't have an accident. We see Kate. She hasn't been, cut by the bread maker and stuff. We see all these people here, chat. And, she's going around town, and she starts saying this thing, the full moon rises before nightfall. And to all these random characters, like the Kate character and the Simon character, and they all respond in the fruits of the land shall be enjoyed during that time or some bullshit. And it's code for we're going to go out into the woods late at night and get high on berries. That's the code word, chat. That's what's going to happen. And it's like, even back then, people were getting high. Although it makes sense. I mean, I would want to get high and drunk constantly in 1666 because we'd all live to probably the ripe old age of 30. We all have all sorts of diseases. We all smell like shit and piss constantly. And speaking of shit and piss, we're about to meet the character who obviously smells like feces. It's not a great time to be alive, Chell. I know people like to say it's like right now is the worst time to be alive. It's really not when you think about it. It's like, does anyone here is like, oh yeah, man, I'd rather live in 1666 than right now. It's like bull fucking shit. No, you don't. This place seems miserable. And if you had like a thought, if you were agnostic or atheist, didn't believe in God, they would beat the hell out of you and then lynch you for witchcraft. Okay, so I kind of want to avoid that. Like, if you're free thinking, if you're not part of the whole idea, like this is the way it has to be, all right, you're part of the fucking cult mentality here, we're gonna kill you. It's like, nah, I'm good. There's also no video games. It's true. I would not work, chat. I would die very young in 1666. There's no video games. I mean, I could drink. I could do that. I do that often. But there's no video games. There's no movies. I'd be like, I'll be shit out of luck. I would not do well. And heresy equals death. Free thinking equals death. So it's like, you're either with the program or you're not. And if you're not, we're going to lynch you and say that we're part of some witch cult or witchcraft. So let's avoid that. But she's talking to all these people, and thank God that at least it's like we can at least, after all of our chores, we do it because all these people do our chores. They constantly do this all fucking day, morning, day, night. That's it. And for these young people, for Sarah Fier, for all of her friends here, they're gonna go out, they're gonna make a bonfire, they're gonna eat some good food, they're gonna drink some beer or I guess it's hard cider in this case, and take some berries that'll make them see some crazy shit. And you know what? They deserve it. They fucking no DT merch, nothing. No more thing with my business. Can't have the lady folk thinking they have an opinion. I know. I mean, listen. The lady folk, what they gotta be doing is they gotta stay in the kitchen and they gotta be birthing babies. It's those two things, all right? They gotta do one of those two things. If they're not, witchcraft. That's just how it is. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. Exactly. And she's saying, the full moon rises before nightfall. Let's enjoy the fruits of the land. It's like, it's code words like, let's get high in the forest after nightfall when the full moon rises. Cool, great. And we passes by the preacher, and these kids are kind of shitty to the preacher because the preacher's like working on this horse, and the kids are all like, Preacher McAllen, or where the fuck his name is. Preacher McAllen can't see. Preacher McAllen's really derpy. It's like, that's a shitty thing. He's like, I'll come after you. But he's good natured, but he's like, those kids and their weird nursery rhyme about my eyes and the fact that I can't see, but I clearly can. I'm sure that's not ominous in any capacity. I don't know why. Like, he seems like he can see rather well, but whatever. He's like, you kids, you little fucking scams. I hope you guys have a good day. See you later. But then, good old Sarah Fier, chat, Sarah/Dina, she passes by the preacher's daughter, chat, who's Sam in this case, who's basically Sam. I don't know what her Puritan pilgrim name is, chat. We're gonna call her Sam. And fucking Sarah's like, I'm gonna fuck that. I was like, woo-wee, girl, you looking good. And she sees you. She was like gonna go up to her and like, hey, how you doing? Are you gonna be at the fucking the forest orgy later? She's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go to the forest orgy. She's like, great, I'll see you there. And so she's continuing towards Solomon Good's house, but then she passes by the outhouse, chat, right at the outskirts of the village. And who do we see coming out there, chat? Tom. It's fucking Tommy, who was the killer in the 1978 film, Chip, and now he's back, and now he's just covered. He came out of the outhouse, his teeth are just black, yellow, and rotting, and it just looks like he smells of feces. Dark Side of the Five Base, no masturbating, no porn, no orgy, no alcohol, no domination, no Who Framed Roger Rabbit, no turkey burgers, the black beans. It's awful. It's a shithole, and you be shitting constantly because everything's just covered and infested with parasites. There's no doubt about that. But we see Tommy, chap. Good old Thomas from 78, and now he's just playing a guy who's just completely covered in feces. We're gonna call him Thomas Outhouse Boy. He's Thomas Outhouse Boy, and he comes up, and she's like, whoo! She gets a whiff of him, and it's like, how you doing, Sarah? Wouldn't you like to lay down with a real man? She's like, I'd rather lay down with a man who doesn't smell like shit and feces, thank you so much, and urine. And he's like, come here, and he's instantly just grabbing on her, like grabs her ass, and she like pushes him down. It's like, how about you help yourself to a fucking drink and get out of my way? He's like, there's a darkness in you, Sarah. There's something evil in you, and you're rejecting my willful ways. He's like, I'm rejecting you because you smell like shit. And she continues down this path, chat, goes to Solomon Good's house, and she sees these two little graves out there, small grave and a larger grave. Chad's like, oh shit, is that assumed to be his wife and child? She goes in there, and Solomon Good, he's had bad luck ever since he came here. He's like, he's happy to see Sarah. He clearly has feelings for her, and she's like, you're a good man, but I'm gay, I just can't say that. And he's like, I understand. She brought him a piglet, which he can raise as his own and, use for, birthing more piglets and shit and whatever he does. Pig milk, I guess, have pig milk? I don't know, chat. And so, but, they have a nice relationship going back and forth, and he's like, I want to give you something for this. He's like, it's fine, happy to help you, everything that happened to you. You deserve some good luck, Solomon Good. You're a good man, I know. He's like, thank you so much, Sarah. And she, and he's like, will you be going to the fucking forest orgy later? She's like, you know about the forest orgy? He goes, I do. And she goes, well, yeah, some of us are going to go out there now. We're going to be going to see the widow witch, because she has the berries. She's like, the witch, huh? Yeah, you think she got like some witchcraft stuff in there? She's like, I don't know. I know she got them berries. Maybe she's got some creepy books and shit. We'll see. He's like, well, I'll see you at the forest orgy. Sounds good. She's like, all right, see you later. And so then she goes back home, chat. She goes back home, and she waits for the full moon to rise before nightfall, chat, so she can enjoy the fruits of the land and the forest orgies. And then she goes out there with all her friends, chat, goes out with like Puritan Simon and Puritan Kate, and they go to the witch's hovel, where she was a widow, chat, because her husband died and her children died, and everyone called her a witch for it, but they couldn't prove it, and so she just kind of lives out by herself. She's like, fuck you guys, you didn't support me, so I'm gonna live off the land. I'm gonna trade the Native Americans there. And that's where they get the berries from her. So Kate and Simon, they're going, it's like just like how they were in the original movie, like they're always doing drugs, which is so funny. But they go to her hovel. And by the way, the witch is played by, what was it? Miss Lane, Nurse Lane from 78, and who we also see in 94, chat. She's the one who's taking care of the two twin black girls that Kate was babysitting at the time. It's the same character. She has aged very well, though. But she's there, and for whatever reason, Widow's gone. They're like, where is she? A widow witch, or where the fuck they call her, Miss Widow. And he's like, it's gone. Let's fucking rob her. Kate and Simon like, let's rob her of her orgasm berries. And so they're looking for the orgasm berries, chat. Meanwhile, Sarah, she goes into like the near a bookshelf, and she sees like this book, and it's filled with all Satanism and shit. And she sees like the magic spells. It's like, holy shit. But then the widow comes, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, I was just looking. I'm sorry. It's like, that's not for your eyes, dear. There's a darkness in you. There's a darkness, and I see it. And your eyes should not grace this book. There will be terrible costs. And she's like, all right, shit, I'm sorry. And they pay for the berries, and they leave. And then they go to the forest orgy, chat, where everyone's fucking drinking hard apple cider and wine and whatever they have, chat, eating bread. And they all start taking the berries, popping them in. They're like, whoa, fucking shit. Those are some, I don't know what those berries are filled with, chat. That's some serious moist juice in them. But they all be like, whoa. And it all makes them horny. All the guys are like, I gotta fuck something. And all the women are like, woo, we're all free and shit, woo. And Sarah, she's been looking at Sam. They're looking at each other. They're showing off the bazungas and things, like doing the mating call, the maiden dance, like, let's do it. But then they're interrupted, chat, by I think Puritan Peters. I don't know who this guy is. He might be a new. They call him Caleb. We're gonna call him like hard cock Caleb, chat, because he is sporting a serious fucking erection, and he's thrusting at Sarah, and he's "Come on, Sarah, sleep with a real man." She's like, "I want none of that fucking thing right there. Okay, how about you go find yourself a donkey to fucking?" It's like, "Ha ha, Caleb's a donkey fucker." He's like, "You'll pay for this, Sarah Fier, for everything you said about me." It's like, I hope that doesn't come back to bite her in the ass. And so he runs off and he jerks off. He runs off to jerk off, chat. Meanwhile, Sarah and Sam, they run into the forest, chat, and we're like, "Hey, listen, we're clearly gay, but we can't admit it in the society. Let's just start fucking." And so they start fucking, chat. They start going down each other and things, but someone's watching the darkness, and they hear a branch snap, and this person runs off, and, you know, Sarah and Sam are like, "Holy shit, who the hell was that?" And we're like, I don't know. Someone might have seen us. It's like, we got to go home right now. Like, this is serious. And so they run home, but, you know, they're still all being handsy because they're all high and shit, and they've been drinking. They clearly love each other and stuff, but they can't express it in this very Puritan time, chat. It's so repressive, not only towards women, but I mean, if you're gay, if you're engaging in homosexual behavior, chat, then you're fucking stoned. You're executed. You're labeled a witch or a wizard or whatever. They'll kill you. So not a great time, chat. Not a great time to have same-sex relations, chat. And so they say goodbye, and like fucking Sam puts like a little piece of this little red moss shit, made like a crown of red moss for her, and she puts in her hair, and it's the same red moss we saw later on in the movies, chat. We saw in 78 and 94. It's the thing that's connected to Sarah Fier. And so they're all like, they kiss. They also kiss outside of Sarah Fier's home. But who fucking sees them kissing, chat? It's Thomas the outhouse boy, who's, again, what's he doing, chat? He's drinking and taking a shit. He's doing all those and probably jerking off, I would imagine, chat. He's the one that's like lumberjacking, chat. Now I know that's what it looks like. We saw in the movie. Ace Rock, let the juice flow. Good to see you, Ace Rock. We're talking about outhouse Thomas, or Thomas the outhouse boy. He's busy drinking, shitting, and jerking, and he sees Sarah and Sam kissing. He's like, he's just laughing. He passes out. Eventually, Sarah goes back inside the house. Jack goes back inside. But she's it's like, you know, she's kind of creeped out because she hears all these noises. But the thing that pops in is like, something like pops out of the darkness. Like, oh, but it's just her dog. It's just her dog, Mary Boy, which is a weird name. I don't know why you name a dog Mary Boy. Anyone Mary Boy, but it's like, all right, whatever. Again, it's Puritan Pilgrim times, Chad. Man, it's what they had weird names for everything. And so she's like, oh, I love you so much. I'm sure you're gonna be alive for the rest of the movie. And so she sleeps. And then she's woken up by Josh, who's like, what the fuck, Sarah? It's been morning. I've been up since the crack of dawn, since 4 in the morning. Okay, since 4. I've almost done all the morning chores. She's like, okay, I'm sorry. I've been drinking. I'm horny and I'm high. And he's like, oh my God, well, get up and do your chores. And so eventually she gets up, chat, but then she's preparing like breakfast and stuff for everybody and make sure everything's looking good and thing. I don't know where the dad is. He might be drinking for all I know. But then Sam comes in. She's like, there's something wrong with my dad. And so she takes Sarah to see her dad. And her dad is the preacher. He's just sitting up in bed, and he's got a fly buzzing around him, chat, like we saw for the original Killers in 78 and 94. And he's just like, the holy God, and Solomon, and all that shit. He's just saying, like, biblical passages or whatever, and he's not, like, they try to go and talk to him, but there's nothing. He's just, like, dead to the world, chat. He's like, he's got that 1,000-yard stare, and he's acting just like Tommy did in 1978, just like he's just kind of on his own little world right now. Like, I don't know what the hell this is. And they're talking, and like Sarah's like, listen, we got to get the doctor in here. We have to figure this out. And they're saying like the doctor doesn't know, and what he's acting, how he's acting, it seems like he's been bewitched. He's bewitched. And I mean, what we did last night, we were sinning, Sarah. We were engaging in the sexual intercourse, and she's like, listen, it was just a little, you know, vaginal pleasure. I mean, it's not like we summoned Satan and shit. All right, we didn't invite the devil in here. It's okay. And she's like, oh, I just don't know. And my mother can't see you here. She doesn't like you. She knows that we have feelings for each other. She's like, I'll talk to your mom. Don't worry. The mom comes in. She's like, get out, you lesbian poor. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The mom grabs Sarah, Chad. She's like, get out of here and stop having your lesbian witchcraft bewitch my husband. You know what Thomas is saying about you? And she throws her out there, and the whole town's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? It's crazy. Everyone's just staring at her, and it's like, ooh, really awkward. No one goes over to help her up. Really shitty, Chad. Really, really shitty. Eventually, Sarah walks back home, and her dad, their science dad from Stranger Things, is there. And he's like, I hear what Thomas has been telling to all the people. He says that you engaged in the sexual activity with Sam. And he's like, Dad, it was they call it like a dalliance or something. I don't know what that means, like frillery or fun or playing or wrestling. I don't know what a dalliance, I don't know what that word is, but I assume it's like that. And he's like, Dad, we weren't engaging in the sexual intercourse. He's like, I've given you too much free will, Sarah. All right, when your mother died, I want to make sure that, you took up responsibility, but I realize now it's my fault that you're a lesbian, and I can't have it not in my house. I'm so disappointed in you, but more so myself, and I'm going to go in my room and cry for the rest of the movie. And so he goes in his room, and he drinks and he cries, and Sarah's like, fucking Christ, this is not good. Dalliance is old people talk for fucking, that's what it is, a dalliance. Okay, fair enough. Thank you for the clarification, man. I'm glad. It's an outdated word. Very much is. Like, never heard of that word before. Luke Buzzing means like a one-time sexual encounter. Okay. When 5 minutes clutches the pearls. Oh, the sex Italians. So there we go. No, that's great. Thank you, guys. Thank you. See, you come in here with the information that I need, Chad. That's what I love about doing these reviews. You come in and you fill in the gaps for me. I appreciate it. Thank you, No Name Woman. Dalliance equals fling, possibly sex, but not necessarily. Necessarily. That's what it is. And so Dad goes inside there, and then she goes to the back room and starts like preparing dinner and stuff. But then she sees like everything's fucking rotten. Like the bread is all moldy, the bacon and stuff, the eggs, they're all filled with like parasites and worms and shit. The fruit's all decaying. She opens up the bag of flour, it's filled with those like little creepy crawly worm thingies. I don't know what they're called, but the little wormy worms. I was like, oh my God. And she's like, Jesus. And then she goes outside. And because she's calling, like, she's asking, that's the thing, because Josh actually comes in, and he's like, Sarah, and he's like, what? She's like, what's going on? He's like, the pig, come outside. And we go outside, and we see the because we saw the pig birthed, like, 8 pig babies. She gave, like, the 8th one to, what's his name? Solomon Good. And she goes out there and sees the mother pig, and he's like, look, and it's all covered in just piggy innards, chat. The mother has eaten the piglet. She's mid-bite. She's mid-chew. She's eaten her own young. And Sarah's like, my God. And he's like, bring me the ox, Joshua. And he's like, Sarah, he's like, give me the ox. And so it's like, holy fucking shit. That's what happens. You buy organic, apparently. And you threw the 3 pennies, Luke the boss. And so she takes the axe, she goes, rah! And she brings that on. The mother pig, chat, splits her head in 2. Right down, right there, just boom, dead. And Josh, just vomiting all that shit. Just not a good day. Just not a good day, Chad. Eventually, she continues onwards, just kind of in a state of shock because she had to kill the pig and stuff. She's passing by all these people, passing by Simon's eating the apple. The apple's all fucking raw. He's like, ew. You ever bitten into an apple like looks perfectly fine? It's like, it looks great. It's like, it's red or green. It's crispy looking. And it's all mushy and gross inside. It's like, oh, fuck. Grossest thing ever, Chad. It's a nasty surprise. He's biting this apple, and it's all gross. And Thomas is like, it's our sin, it is. It's our dirty, rotten sin. Someone has brought the devil into our community here. Whoever it may be, they perform wickedness. And they brought it upon our very pious heads it is. And his teeth is all slobbering all over himself. We see this horse going, nee! This horse is freaking out. I mean, typical witchcraft bullshit. And then she passes by Kate or Ziggy or whatever it is, the equivalent, Sam or maybe whoever it was, and they're looking at the well. Like these like 5 guys are trying to get the well up, the bucket, but for whatever reason, chat, they can't, stuck on something. She's like, what's going on? It's like the bucket's stuck on something, and eventually They get it open, they free it, and they're pulling it up, and they see that they have the bucket, but then what's attached underneath the bucket? Fucking Mary Boy, chat. The dog. She was called for the dog. The dog, someone hung the dog and put it down in the well where it was shitting itself, and it was all disease, and it's rotten dog water. Now we have this woman, it's like, someone's poisoned the well. We're doomed. And Thomas is like, see, someone has brought sin upon us all. Who did it? And it's like, whoa. Eventually, Sarah goes back home. It's been a bad day. It's been a real bad day. But Solomon Good, he comes over and he says, hey, just wanted to stop by and check on you, see how things are going. I know I've heard things, and listen, I just came by because I want to give you this. It's a small thing, and because he's a leather worker, he works in leather and stuff, and he built her like a knife sheath so she can sheath her knife, because she's birthing the pig babies and cutting up meat and stuff. She's a Renaissance woman, chat, doing all sorts of things in the village, and I thought you would like this for your knife. And she goes, thank you, I appreciate that. But then people will suddenly come, he's like, she's like, listen, I have something to tell you. I always want to talk with you about this, and I've been blamed for all these things. And he's like, Sarah, it's fine. The hard times come to us all. Hard times came to me and my family. All right, this happens, it's no one's fault. Whoever did that with the dog, I know it wasn't you. I know you didn't bring any evil upon us. Of course not. I mean, that's ridiculous to even think that. And she says, well, what if I did invite sin? She's like, you didn't invite sin to us. He's like, everyone says I'm with Sam and everything. He's like, oh, pay no mind. He's like, well, I did have a dalliance with her. He's like, well, it's a dalliance. It happens to all of us. What if it was more than a dalliance? He's like, oh, well, I mean, again, it's just, it's you didn't invite the evil upon us, Sarah. It's not your fault. But then all these people start coming running towards Sarah's house, and like Sam and shit. And it's like, it's their father, it's the preacher. The preacher has locked himself inside the church of the children. And it's like, oh shit, we gotta run there. And they all run there, chat. The whole church is locked in there, and no one's allowed in. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And eventually, Solomon Good, he breaks down the door. He says, okay, they go to the front door. He says, okay, no one come in here. I'm going to go in and see what's going on. Just please keep all the women outside, all the other husbands, because all the children of the village are like there. A lot of the children of the village are there. And he goes in there, chat, and he sees the preacher on top of the diocese, and he's like, just saying gibberish, and he has this hook which he's banging on the gavel like, and Solomon Good, he sees all the children like in the pews, and they're not moving, and right in the middle of the pews, right in the front of the aisle, is just this mass of meaty eyeballs, and he's like, oh my God, and he turns his head, and all of the children's eyes have been gouged out by the preacher, whose eyes are also gouged out. And he's like, oh my God. And eventually, everyone breaks through the church, and all the fathers and mothers go with their children, but they're like, oh, because all their fucking all the kids are dead. Oh, they're all like, when they had their eyes gouged out, they bled to death. They're all fucking dead, and they're like, oh my fucking God. And Sarah, she goes in there because Josh is missing, and the front of the pew, chat, she finds Josh, whose eyes have also been gouged out. He falls forward dead. It's like, holy fucking shit. The preacher, he gets off of his diocese, chat, and he has this weird fucking hook, and he's going right for Sarah, but then Solomon Good's like, no, Sarah! And he has a pitchfork on, and he stabs the preacher right through the side, and he falls over dead too. And it's a massacre, chat. It's like, oh my Lord. Look, the most thing to do. So did he kill them first and take the eyeballs, or before, because how the fuck did he do that? I don't know. It's a good question. Because he clearly led them in there. And the only wounds we see are the eye gouge. Again, it could be the spell, the evil of the curse. It could be that, which we'll get into. I mean, it might be. I don't know. But he did a number. He killed a lot of fucking kids. But they kill him. They kill the preacher. And at this point, like, everyone in the village is pissed. And we have this, I don't know, the mayor of the village or something. And he's like, hear ye, we have to find out who the fuck has done all these evil things. And Solomon Good's like, listen, it was the preacher. He did all these things, okay? We cannot cast blame on anyone else. He was clearly ill, and I think we should take this time to mourn those we lost and help the families who are currently suffering. They're like, fuck that. Well, we don't care about them. We want to placate ourselves because we're afraid and we want to blame someone. We need a scapegoat, baby. And Thomas stands up like, who here has sinned? Who here has seen the sinful play of the devil? And then Caleb, chat, the guy who was jerking off, who had a big old Woody and went off to, jerk off and shit and did all that stuff. He raises his hand. He's like, I have seen sinful behavior. I have seen under the full moon a witch ride. He's like going off like, I've seen a witch ride the devil with red hair and fornicate in front of us and curse our land. And those two people are Sarah and Sam. And it's like, oh shit. And everyone's like, oh yeah, I saw them fornicating. I saw them fucking on the preacher's roof. I saw them fucking inside the house. I saw them fucking in the field. Everyone's lying. Everyone's lying because they're all scared and shit. But Solomon Good's like, guys, that's fucking bullshit, okay? That's not what happened, obviously, all right? We got to come together, and we have to help each other. And they're like, fuck that. Let's get Sarah Fier and Sam. And they go to the house where Sam's like, whoa, and they grab her to punch the shit out of her, and they drag her out, and they lock her up and stuff. Meanwhile, Sarah, she's heard all this because she was watching the meeting outside. She's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. This is not good. This is not good. Then she's like, she goes back home where her whole house has been turned out. Her dad is either drunk or got the shit kicked out of him. And she's trying to like rouse her dad. I'm a bad dad. I love you, but you're a witch and I don't know what to do anymore. Everyone's looking for her. Eventually, Sarah goes to the meeting house where they're keeping Sam under lock and key. She goes there. And she starts talking with her, and she's like, holy fucking shit. Like, this has gotten so out of control. And she's like, there's only one thing that we have to do at this point. And Sam's like, what? And she's like, why don't everyone's blaming us for witchcraft? Everyone's saying that, that we're responsible for this. So what if at this point we just fuck it? What if I just go ahead, I meet with the widow, I ask her for her book, and I free us, and we can escape out of here, and we can kiss under the sun like free people, okay? Let's make a deal. Jesus saying, like, fuck it. They already think we did this. Let's just go ahead and do this. And Sam's like, are you sure that's a good idea? She's like, why not at this point? I'm going to make a deal with the devil to set you free, and we're going to run away together, okay? That's what we're going to do. So it's like, all right, shit, okay. Let's do it. And so she's like, I'll wait for you. I'm not going anywhere at this point. And she's like, I'll be back for you. I'm going to go to the widow. And so Sarah Fier, she goes then to the widow, opens up her little hovel, her little hut. She goes inside, and the widow's been fucking strangled to death. She's dead. She's like, what the fuck? The widow's like, she's dead. I got strangled real good. The book is gone. And she's like, what? Oh my God, I don't know what to do. She's like, she has no idea what to do. She's like, maybe it's the townspeople that came in there and they killed her in retribution, thinking that her and the widow and Sarah were connected, and they came there and they killed her. And she's like, I don't know. And she's the only other person who's ever stuck up for her. She goes to Solomon Good. She goes to Solomon Good's home, and she's like begging him. And she knocks on her door, like, and he's like, go away. I want no part of your witch hunt. I want no part. Be gone. But he goes to the door, and she's like, please help me. Please help me. I'm so scared. And he's like, Sarah, come. And he comes in, and she's like, everything is my fault. He's like, it's not your fault. They're ignorant, Sarah. They don't understand themselves. They want to place blame on something. It's not your fault. I'll help you. I'll hide you. And he's like, listen, they hear knocking the door, and it's like, oh shit, they're coming, because they're checking all the houses at this point. He says, listen, hide in the back room in my pantry. Okay, stay there. I'll send them away, and that's what we'll do. Okay, and you could be here, and I'll help you get some. You can get out of here together. And it's like, fuck yeah, Solomon Good. What a good guy, chat. It's in the name, right? And so he goes to the door, they're like, where's the witch? He's like, there's no witch here. I've been here all night. And they're like, all right, well, if you find her, you tell us. And he's like, yeah, and he talks to them. He's like, come on, we have questions for you, Solomon Good. And he goes out and talks to them. But while Sarah is hiding in the pantry, she notices, chat, a light coming in the far corner. And she's like, what the hell is that? She goes over the far corner, she pushes this aside, and it's a tunnel. It's a tunnel leading to someplace else. She's like, what? And she goes down this tunnel, chat. It's all been lit, and she comes out, and what does she fucking see, chat? She sees the devil's stone, and she sees the name of the preacher scrawled upon the stone. And what's in the middle of this diocese, chat, of this carving? The witch's book. And she's like, holy fucking shit. It's Solomon Good. He's the one. He's the one who killed the widow, stole her book. He's the one who cursed the preacher. He's did all this. And she's like, oh my God. And then he comes in. He's like, Sarah, I know what ye be thinking. She's like, you did all this. He's like, you don't know what it's been like. I lost my wife. I lost my son. I've lost so much. This riddle's taken so much from me. And why don't I take something from it? Those people, they don't respect us. They don't care. They blame you for all these things. But I'm the only one that can help you, Sarah. Come with me. I love you. And he grabs you. It's like, oh my God, a fucking revelation, channel revelation. She's not the one who cursed them. She's not the one. Sarah's not the one that cursed Shadyside, has caused all this. No. Solomon Good was the one who did this, chat. Solomon Good is the person who led all these people to be cursed for 300 years, to suffer, to be hunted by all these killers who themselves were cursed by Solomon Good. And maybe, chat, his successors. And so she's like, fuck this. She's like, she takes out her knife, she unsheathes her blade, the little seat that he made, and stabs him right in the tummy. He's like, Sarah, you fucking lesbian, you. And she's like, oh, but she's running, chat. She's running. So she goes like she's lost, because all fucking tunnels. Because we see like he cast the spell. He basically pledged his name to Lucifer, to Satan, to Morning Star, chat, to every devil and demon there is in hell in order to get these gifts. And she's running, chat, and we see that, oh, it's the same fucking tunnels we saw last time in 1978. It's the same fucking thing. And she finds a way out, and it's where the outhouse later is placed in 1978. She's like, oh, that's fucking cool. And so she starts climbing up there, and she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. But then he grabs her chin. He's like, come here, you! I'm the only one that can save you, Sarah. And he throws her down. She's like, oh! And he has his own knife, chat. He hits the knife out of her hand, grabs it, and he just fucking cuts her hand, chat. It like cuts it to the point where it's like 2/3 of the way. It's hanging off by like a fucking thread. And she's like, ah! It's like just hanging off. And he's like, ah! And he's just like putting all this weight on it. So it's literally tearing off, chat, from her arm. And she's just screaming. And eventually she just fucking knees him in the balls, chat. But then she has to pull her own hand off, chat. She's got like this stump. He's like, he's just waiting. She's just screaming. And she like wraps her stump in in this thing, and so you gotta cauterize that, honey. You gotta put that in like the fire or like a frying pan. You gotta do something. But she's like, and she's running towards like a new direction. She finds another way out, because she sees some light coming off from under these boards, and she's just like, she's going into shock at this point because she just had her hand cut off, and that's the explanation. And that's where her hand remains, chat, right where in 1978, where Alice finds the hand, chat, underneath the outhouse. See, baby, it's all connected. And then she goes and she starts kicking up these boards, chat, and she ends up in the meeting house. Where they were like saying, it was the witch and shit. It was her. And she's like stumbling. She opens up the door. She's like, and she sees Sam tied at the well. And she's like, she smiles, but then bonk. She's hit in the back of the head by Solomon Good. And he's like, I have the witch. I have the witch. It's like, oh my God. They're like, yeah, fucking kill them all. And so they take Sam and they take Sarah Fier, and they take them to the tree, chat, which we saw in all the films so far. The tree, the hanging tree. And they got him up there, and Solomon Good is like, if the accused have anything to say before they're hung by the neck, may they do so. And like, Sarah looks at Sam and she's like, it was me. I'm the one that did it. I'm the one. I bewitched the preacher's daughter. And they're like, yeah, I'm the one. She's taking the blame. And Sam's like, no, don't do this. It's not true. It's not true. And she's like, I'm the one that cursed this town. I'm the one that poisoned the well. I'm the one that rotted your fruit and shit. And I was like, it's her. And therefore the town's like, all right, well, Sam's good. You're good. You're bewitched. It's not your fault. I mean, you're a lady after all, right? I mean, of course you're going to be bewitched. You're a lady. And so they take her away. And they clean her up. It's like, sorry about beating the shit out of you earlier. But then, Solomon Good's putting the fucking noose around Sarah's neck. And she's like, motherfucker, I know it was you, and I curse you. My curse for you. You may curse this town. You may curse these people for whether it be today, tomorrow, for years to decades to centuries to come. But my curse for you will be the truth, and it will follow you and your family forever. And he's like, yeah, tough luck, bitch. You're gonna die. And he fucking hangs her, Chad. He pulls her up. She's like, and she like pisses herself and everything. It's like, oh my God. And they hang her right there. They're like, yeah. Great, let's bury the body. And so they bury her in a shallow grave underneath the tree, chat. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's rough. Straighters, you have a good evening. Hope you enjoyed the review or some of the review. And they bury her there, and they're like, all right, out of sight, out of mind. They walk. But then her friends, chat, like Kate and Simon and, I don't know, maybe Ziggy and the other one, they're like, she's not a witch. It was all bullshit. Sam even says it. Sam's like, none of that was just true. And they're like, you know what? She deserves a proper burial. She deserves a place where only we know where she is, where she can be honored and remembered. And so they unbury her, and they take her body to where? And they replace the chat with the stone. We see in 1978, the witch shall live forever in our memories. And so they bury the stone, they cover that up, and they take her to that one place in the forest where they bury her, and they say all these things about how you're a good person. We know it wasn't you. Sam basically says, I love you. What happened to you was wrong, etc., etc. And they leave, and all the moss starts growing, chat. It's like so she'll always be there. She's always there, and spreads across Sunnyvale and Shadyside, chat, and towards and it interacts with the giant fucking gross heart blob thing, where it's like it's always there because the truth. It's the truth. The truth is there, and it interacts the heart. So no matter what, if you touch it, the truth is revealed to you, which happened to Alice in 1978 and anyone else who touches that. It's like there we go. Pasig was one of the dead kids. Gotcha. Abby, Cindy was the one that went to the funeral. Fair enough. Gotcha. Thank you, Casfang. But then it's like, it's all connected. And then we cut back to 1994, and it's 1994 part 2, baby. And Dina's like, oh, Jesus, what the fuck? Josh, you here? And we cut to Josh. And Josh, he's sitting on the curb. He's like right by the curb on the side of the road. And who fucking pulls up in their cop car, Chad? Nick Good. He goes, hey Josh, how you doing, buddy? What you doing out here? I heard Ziggy just called, heard that you guys were out there. Everything okay? He's like, oh yeah, Sheriff Good, we're just, hanging out. He goes, yeah, and he starts reaching for his fucking gun, chat. And then Dina just comes out of the woods and grabs Josh, get your ass over here. And Nick goes like, hey, where you going? Hey, kids, I'm just here to help you. And Josh's like, what the fuck's going on, Dina? It's Nick Good. He's a great guy. He's like, you don't fucking understand, okay? Nick Good, his family, they're responsible for all these. He's like, what? He's like, come with me. And so Nick Good, Sheriff Good, he starts moving down there. He sees like their shoes, like, oh, you motherfuckers. He turns around, they took their shoes off. He's like, fuck! And he looks back and they run into his cop car chain and they drive off. He's like, motherfucker! Vaguely the boss of the two biddies. Dina, I'm so glad to be on 1994. We have analog TVs that the best shit ever it is, right? Thank you, boss of the two biddies. And Josh is like, why did we just steal a cop car? She's like, you don't understand what I just saw. It's Good. It's the Good family. Solomon Good, the ancestor of Sheriff Nick Good. They're the ones who created the curse, not Sarah Fier's. She was blamed for it. She was the only one that really knew what happened. And for 300 fucking years, they have cursed us. Shadyside, all these people, all to make themselves, enrich themselves in their community, while the rest of us are fucked. And we see all of the ancestors of all the descendants, chat, of Solomon Good, all throughout the decades, all fucking worshiping Satan, making a fucking devil's bargain, chat, until it's like Sheriff Good saying the name of the most recent killer, and also Sam. And she goes, good is evil. I'm like, all right. I'm like, fair enough. Well, the story is fuck the police, pretty much. Good is evil. Deadpool, I'm going to need you to put on the hoodie and hold this bag of Skittles. Oh, that's so bad. It's true, though. He was going to kill them. He's going to kill them both. Oh, my Lord. Absolute pleasure. Nia Brownie, I think with a bit he waited, damn it. I just got here. Also, hi. And start over. I'm sorry, Nia. But actually, you came at a good part because we just finished all of the period piece of 1666. The big revelation happened, Nia. And now we're here. And so it's like, oh my fucking God. So the good family chat, they're the ones who have cursed Shadyside for 300 years to enrich themselves. It's like, holy fucking shit. We got to tell Ziggy, which Ziggy, she's in love with Nick Good, so it's going to be a little complicated. They go back to Ziggy's house chat, and Sam's all like, she's all, you know, mutated and cursed and shit. And they sit Ziggy down. It's like, we got a lot of shit to tell you. And so they basically tell the whole story to her, and she's just like sitting there at the 1,000-yard stare because she's remembering her first love with Nick, who helped her in 78. And she's realizing, oh, like all the dialogue where Nick says, like, I've let so many people die tonight, I'm going to make sure that you live. It's like, oh, he literally killed all these people. Now she's like, oh, it all makes sense. It all makes sense now. And how he risks something because he actually had feelings of her. He didn't want her to die. It's like, oh, shit. And she's like, that motherfucker. Nana, thank you so much. You're extending your tier 1 subscription all the way through February. Now that is some support, chat. That's support, some sass on that ass. Nana, thank you so much. Cheers and salute to you. Happy to have you here. Hope you're doing very well. It was the rich, straight, white cop all... Yeah, it was the rich, straight, white cop all along, chat. He was the villain. Who would have thought? But he looks so handsome. He's so handsome, chat. But he's the villain. And Ziggy's like, that motherfucker. And she's like, oh, God. Like, what's wrong? She's like, I told him to come here because of everything that's been happening. And they're like, oh, my God, we got to get going. We got to go. And so they go into the cop car. They put fucking Sam in the back chat, tie her up, you know, with more phone cords and shit. And they're like, who do we go to? Who can help us with this? What's the plan? And Josh is like, I know. And he takes out the card, the card from, remember Martin, the janitor, chat, in 1994, who was arrested for graffiti? It's that guy, because he's like janitor, or whatever he is, like janitorial services, engineer, and Renaissance man, or however they describe him, chat. Or you have a problem, come to me. And so we cut to, and it's, love it, because they it's like, what street is he on? He's on Fear Street. And they turn down Fear Street. Fear Street's like, here I am. Here's my cameo. I'm in the movie. And they turn down the street. And we see Martin, chat. We see Martin. This guy lived through. That guy lived 3 times. And this thing is fucking hilarious. Because all he is, he's on his front porch, in his, like, lazy boy in his front porch, smoking a fucking doobie. Lights up a... smoking a fucking doobie, chat. Cop car comes. He's like, fuck, shit. Oh, come on, man. Come on, Jesus. This is my own property, man. You can't fucking bother me here. And Josh walks out. He goes, hey, man. He's like, oh, Chubby Urkel, it's you. He goes, yeah, listen, do you want to help us kill Sheriff Good? And he goes, let me go get my coat. He's like, sure. And this shit's so goofy. Like, again, it's a very fun movie, but they're like, yeah, why not? I'll help you kill the sheriff. Fuck that guy. He's like, let me go get my coat. And so they just explain all this shit to him about what they need to do. And they want to use the mall basically as their last stand, okay? They're going to use the mall as their last stand, and then we're going to do some Scooby-Doo supernatural nonsense, okay? And he's like totally okay. He's like, yeah, sure. Why not? Fuck it. Why not? Nick Good was no good. The almighty janitor, chat. The janitor came there. He's like, yeah, I'll fucking help you kids. I'll help you kill the sheriff. Fuck him. And so they go to the Shadyside Mall because he has access to, he has all the keys and shit. And they go in there, and it'll be like, you know, it's where the movie started, chat. It's where this whole saga started with the death of, what's her name? Maya Hawke. And so there with the crime scene, the mall's been under lockdown, but he goes in there and shit. And he's like, okay, we're going to do some Scooby-Doo nonsense at this point. And so at this point, Dina is cursed. Dina is cursed. And so the killers are going to come for her blood. And so what they do is they cut her hand, and they have the blood all fill up these buckets of water. They fill these squirt guns with all the magic blood, all the magic blood's being put into there. They get all these mops out, and they're leading them to the various stores, chat. Because what they're going to do is they're going to lock the killers inside of these stores, basically, because they're going to use the big gates, chat. So various stores like the Spencers and the bookstore that Maya Hawke worked in, they're going to all lock them in there so they can't escape. It's like, oh, good. It makes sense. But like, what about Sheriff Good? It's like, oh, we got a fucking plan for him. And so they start graffitiing the store, like in this glow-in-the-dark paint, where it's like, Sheriff Good, good is evil. Sheriff Good's a fuckface, like stuff like that. And they're like, we're gonna call him and wait for him here. We're gonna bamboozle him. That's how we're gonna fucking pull this off. And it's like, well, what are we gonna do with Sheriff Good though, in particular? And Ziggy's like, we're gonna fucking carry his ass, because she remembers like it's like talking about Carrie and things and all these like, oh, how we bonded over that. And she's like, no, I'm gonna carry him. That's how we're gonna do this. And so they set up this trap at this point, all these traps, and they're all like, they make the call, and the police they know are coming, or Ziggy makes the call or no, not Ziggy doesn't make the call. They make the call to the police station about someone broke in the mall, etc., etc., etc. And Sheriff Good's like, oh, they're fucking there. And so they also tie up Sam in the pizzeria. She's like, she's all tied up at that point. And they all hide out. Eventually, they hear someone enter the mall. They all take their positions and hide. Josh and I think Martin are, or someone, some of the characters, Josh or Dean or whoever, they're discovered by some of the cops. It's not, Nick Good just didn't go there alone. He's like, cops, go inside there and check out the premises. They're like, okay, boss. And they go inside there. Meanwhile, he fucking summons all the killers. She's like, every fucking person who's ever on this list, go, go, go. Get your asses in there and kill those fucking kids. So they're hiding out. The cops see him and they're like, hey, what are you kids doing there? And they squirt the cops like with the squirt guns. They're like, hey, which is bullshit. As soon as they squirt him, he would have shot both of them, chap, but whatever, you know, it's a movie. And so he's like, hey, why'd you do that? And they all the cops start getting stabbed stabbed to death by all the killers, chat, like Tommy, the Jason Voorhees killer, Skullface guy is there. La 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 la. La, 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 la. The Satan girl, Ruby Lane, is there, chat. The Bat Boy is there. The gas mask killers. Like, every killer is fucking there at this point. It's like, all right, this is not good, but now they're following the blood trails. And what's interesting in this is that they said, like, the killers would typically ignore you because Martin's, like, seeing this. She's like, oh, my fucking God. He wants to run. They're like, no, Martin, it's okay. They're going to ignore you. He's like, all right. And so, like, the one killer, the Jason Voorhees-looking guy or whatever, Tommy, he walks right by Martin without even noticing because he's following the mop trail of blood into one of the, or no, it's not Tommy. It's the gas mask guy, following him into one of those areas. And so he goes in there and he fucking closed the gate on him. The guy's like, what the fuck? And he's like, ha, got you, scared motherfucker. He also got the pedophile looking guy in there too. All the kills. And each person does this. And then Ziggy, chat, she eventually she sees the Tommy one. The Tommy, she's like, oh, fuck, of course it's you. And he goes into the bookstore, chat, with the Mile Hawk bookstore. And she slams in the gate, but it only goes like part of the way because it got stuck in the first movie. She's like, fuck. And so she's slamming down on this thing until eventually it closes. But he goes, bah! And she's like, how you doing, Tommy? But all the killers are locked in the stores at this point. And eventually they hear another person come through the entranceway, and Ziggy, she's like, I have to do this. She's like, Ziggy, you can't do this alone. I was like, I need to do this. And she stands in front of the tree, chat, like all those years ago, and it's Sheriff Nick Good, and he walks over to her, chat, and he's seeing all these things. He's remembering kissing her, and she's remembering kissing him. It's going back and forth, the flashbacks, chat, and he walks over to her, he's like, Ziggy, what are you doing here? And she goes, I wanted to see you, Nick. And she goes like, but I don't want to. She goes, Nick, you're it. And he goes, what? And she goes, Tag, you're it. And he goes, huh? And she pulls this fucking lever right next to her. He looks up, and a big old bucket of neon blood, of Dina blood, chat, falls. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, like, what is this? And then they pull the fucking string shit. It's like, oh, that's how they're gonna get him. Because all of the killers are attracted to Dina's blood, and they just covered him in her blood. And all these killers walk on and go, we're gonna fucking slice and dice your ass, Nick Good. He's like, oh! And he fucking freaks out. And he grabs Ziggy. He's like, come here, bitch. Grabs him by the hair. He's like, I'm gonna keep them away from me. Keep them away from me or she fucking dies. They're like, let her go, let her go. It's like, you stay back. Stay back. All the killers are coming to her. It's like, stay the fuck back. And he gets stabbed in the back by the Skullface guy, and he goes down. And they're like starting to stab him. He's like, fuck, shit, fuck. He's shooting them all. And he just takes off running at this point. But they're also on top of Ziggy. And she's trying to stop from being killed by Tommy at this point. It's like, of course, Tommy's back. And they're like trying to get off. And at this point, Dina's like, oh, fuck, the plan's going haywire. Because they see Nick Good escape. And he gets up, he shoots on him. And he starts hobbling away. All of his tummy's falling out. And Dina's like, fuck it. She slices her hand open. They're like, oh, we smell something tasty. And they go after her at this point. And they're like, oh, Jesus. But then the rest of the guys are like, we got to get them off of Dina. And she goes like in this back room. And they grab, thank you, batch of the 10 biddies. Hope you and Katie are doing very well today. And they grab the squirt guns, which are all filled with Dina's blood. And they start squirting the killers with the blood. All the killers are like covered in the blood. And they're like, oh, they start stabbing. No, what they do is they start attacking each other, chat. So we get a fucking brawl between like Bat Boy and Tommy and Skullface Guy and Gas Mask Man and the pedophile and Sing Song Girl. Like all of them start just stabbing and fighting each other. It's like, wow, this is so cool. And they go at it, but they keep coming back and they keep stabbing each other again. They keep resurrecting themselves over and over. Meanwhile, Dina, she sees Nick Good like run down this hallway in the mall. He's going somewhere. It's like somewhere particular. She's like, I gotta go after this fucker. And so she puts on this like vest or whatever, this jacket, this heavy jacket, and she chases after him. Meanwhile, Sam, she starts to like tear out of her bonds and she chases after Dina. They're like, oh shit, fucking Sam just got loose. But they're like, we have to keep the killers off of them before she kills Nick Good, because that's the only way. They think that the way to end the curse is to kill the person who bargained with the devil. If we kill them, then the fucking deal is off at this point. So that's their logic. And so they have to keep all the killers distracted, chat. So they eventually run out of blood, magic blood. And so Martin, Josh, and Ziggy have to fight off all of these killers with whatever they have, with guns, with knives, with axes. Josh gets really fucked up, chat. Like Ruby or someone, I forget who it is. Like someone like jumps on top of him, stabs him, breaks his fucking arm. He's like, ah! He's like, it's not good, but he manages to get away. But he's like hobbled at this point, chat. Eventually, we cut back to Nick Good, and this one path he was going, like he knows every nook and cranny of Shadyside and Sunnyvale, chat. His family does, and they've dug all these secret tunnels to get to the Devil's Stone. And he goes down one of these tunnels, and Dina's chasing after him. She's like, good! Nick, go! Where the fuck are you, ass? And all that stuff. He's like, and he starts monologuing. He's like, you understand? My family built this fucking town 300 years ago. It's because of our name that you fucking live. That you even any of you fucking people live. It's like that. And he's like, he's going off, chat. And eventually he's just stumbling and wandering in, and Dina, she finds the main room with the giant pulsating heart. She's like, that thing's fucking gross. And then Sam jumps on top of Dina, and they start fucking fighting. She's like, fucking Sam, it's me. It's me. Just choking the shit out of her. But she's like, it's me. And Dina's like, there has to be some way for her to remember me. She's like, oh yeah. She reaches behind, grabs Sam's ass, and Sam's like, oh, my cheeks. Dina? And she's like, yeah, babe. Bah! And she punches her. But it just took a bit of grab ass, chat. That's it for Sam's like, I remember those fingers grabbing my ass. Oh, hey. But knocks her the fuck out. She briefly comes out of her cursed spell, chat. Knocks her out. But then Nick, he gets on top of her, and he's like, come here, you fucking dyke, bitch. He's like, whoa, called her a dyke, chat, called her a lesbian. It's like, the only thing that people will fucking remember you for is that you're just a goddamn lesbian whore. And he's like stabbing her, chat, like stabbing her in the chest and the tummy. She's like, oh, like over and over again. It's like, holy mother. But eventually, Dina, she's like, the only way I can get out of this is if I make him touch the disgusting fucking heart. And he grabs her hand, like right where he's about to stab her again, puts his hand on the heart and goes, ah! And he starts to see all the people that died, all the killers, chat. The truth. The truth is his curse, chat. And he gets up and he's like, all this stuff. He's freaking out. And he sees all the victims, chat, from 1666 to 1978 to 1994. Kate, Simon, Peters, Cindy, Tommy, Gary, everyone's there, and he's seeing all this shit until the very last person there who's standing before him, Chad, is Sarah Fier. And it's like, the truth will be your curse. And then, and it takes the form of Dina, because it's Dina. And because they were one at one point, and she stabs the fucking knife into his eyeball. He's like, and he falls over dead. And we cut back to our heroes, Ziggy and Martin and Josh, who are battling the killers. They go, poof, and they all poof into flies, and they fall down dead. And they're like, she fucking did it. And we cut to the evil devil's room, where the heart has shriveled and is just liquefied and just dries up, Chad, just dries up into little dried bits. And she's like, oh my fucking God. And then she takes off the jacket, Chad, and it's so funny. She made a makeshift Kevlar vest. A Kevlar vest, which is all made out of Fear Street books. Marketing, branding, merchandising. Fear Street, chat, saved her life. She's not the witch, man. She was not. She was never the witch. It was Nick Good and his evil fucking family. And so, thank you, Deb, with the 5 biddies. Eventually, she goes to Sam, who apparently did not turn into a whole bunch of butterflies. She's okay, which is like, all right, so why did all these other people turn to butterflies and flies and shit, but she's okay? She's like, you know, she's just fine. And it's like, all right, whatever. I guess because she didn't die, she didn't come out, it doesn't matter. But she's all fine. She's like, oh my God, Dina. And they're like, they're kissing and shit. And then eventually they're joined by Josh, Martin, and Ziggy. They go down the tunnel, and they're like, we got to get out of here. But they get lost, and because they see another path, and they go up. They go up, and Sam was still alive. Yeah, Sam was still alive for some reason. And they don't really explain, like, as to why, but it's like, just fucking whatever. It's whatever it is. Look, the boss thing could be. I guess she didn't die. I guess the fact that she was killed, because when the killers were killed, but she was not killed, and so I guess that's the only thing we can assume. The only thing we can assume at this point. Anyway, they go through this other tunnel, and they come out, and it's in Nick Good's house, and it's all like fucking dude bro shit, like it's all animals that he shot, and it's all goats. Everything's black Phillip, the black Phillip. It's like, I get it, your family witches, I get it. And all these posters like, courage is defined like this, liberty is defined like this, and it's like, oh my God, this obnoxious house is super expensive. And they walk out, and they're basically in Sunnyvale at this point. Everyone's like, what are those fucking pores doing over there? What are those goddamn pores doing over there? That's weird. And this one guy's like pulling out of his garage or his fucking luxurious driveway, like a luxurious driveway, Jack, you believe it? And he goes, meow, gets hit by a fucking truck. And they're like, oh, so either like the curse reversed itself or now it's evening out. Like, I don't know, but the curse is broken. And we cut to the news, and this is weird. This is when the movie's like, you're cutting corners here, but it's like, all right, all out. Where they're like, oh yeah, apparently Sheriff Nick Good is a serial killer, and he's been responsible for all the murders since 1978. It's been him. And it's like, what? But it's like, all right. And the Good family and his brother is stepping down as mayor, has nothing to say, yada, 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 yada. And all that shit. And we see that's Josh, you know, watching the TV. It's like days later, however long later, he's in a cast, his arm's in a cast and things. And he's just sitting there. Just watching the good old boob tube, chap, watching the good old boob tube. But now things have gotten better, like, between Dina and Josh. She goes over there, she made him breakfast. The breakfast looks fucking horrible. And he's like, yeah, I'm good. Let's just go to school. She goes, okay. And they go out the door. We see a little post-it note from Dad that says, got another interview today, kids. Looks like a really good one. I have all these job offers. Don't worry about dinner. I'm going to make it when I get home. So Dad signs. Dad seems to be better now. We don't see him. He's like, okay, he's not an alcoholic anymore. Eventually, math, am I right? Right now? Math. They go out the door. And they drive to school, and then we get a montage of everyone's life, like being in Shadyside, being a lot better. We see Ziggy go to Nurse Lane and give her back her book and saying, it's over. And they're like, and they start crying and hugging each other like it's over. It's been dealt with. She reveals everything to Nurse Lane. It's like, oh, that's cool. We cut to school, where Dina drops off Josh, And Josh is like, aren't you coming in? She's like, I got other plans. I got a date. I got a hot date. And he goes, all right, enjoy yourself. Go over to Martin. Martin's opened up his own business selling fucking music and shit to kids, Walkmans or whatever. And Josh, he's like getting mad because no one's to buy it. But then Josh comes over, is like, what are you trying to do, man? Like, you got to make it smaller. And then this random nerdy girl walks over. You got to get a smaller SD, man. You got to put that on a solid state drive, okay? And she writes on Josh's cast, and it turns out it's that girl he's been talking to online for however long, the chat room girl, Milady 225 or something like that, Milady 69. He's like, whoa, and it's like, we can have sex now. She's like, yeah. It's like, good for him. We see in memoriam for Simon and Kate and Maya Hawke, and they're like, because it was revealed that Nick Good was the serial killer, which I guess technically is true, but like how they discovered that, I don't know, but they're all good. And it's great. And then we cut to Dina. She drives up her car next to the side of the road where Sarah Fier is buried. And who's waiting there for her, Chad? Her girlfriend and future wife, Sam. And we see that Dina has milkshakes and cheeseburgers. And fucking Sam's like, you actually brought cheeseburgers. Because she says, like, after all this shit's done, we're going to stuff our faces with cheeseburgers and have hot, sweaty sex. And she's like, that sounds awesome. And she's like, oh my God, we're actually going to do it. She's like, hell yeah, we are. They eat the cheeseburgers, Chad, have milkshakes, and they just start kissing and grabbing ass and everything. It's like, oh, it's great. And we pan out, and Sarah Fierce's ghost is like, this is fucking hot. And she's watching it too from beyond the grave, Chad. They literally have the sex on her grave. And Sarah's like, this is an amazing fucking supernatural freeway. And she's loving it. We then cut, everyone's having a great time in Shadyside. Like, everyone's in a better life. Their lives are getting better because the curse is broken. And then we cut to Shadyside Mall, and we see this montage of people walking around, and we cut to the hallway, and we go down the tunnel, chat. We go to the tunnel that the Good family created, and we go to the crime scene, chat, where Nick Good's body was, and there, chat, lies the book with all these little crime scene numbers on and everything. And we keep close to the book, we see a single fly land, and it goes boop. And it lands right there. And then these pair of hands come out of nowhere and grab the book, and they go off screen, chat. And that, my friends, is Fear Street 1666, Part 3, the final chapter. For now, we don't know, chat. But really enjoyed this movie. Really, really fun. On a technical level, very well done. Like, all the editing is fantastic. The kills are very well done. Just the choreography of everything is cool. A lot of, just the fan servicey stuff, like the killers killing each other, stabbing the shit out of each other. I mean, you get that cathartic ending with Nick Good getting stabbed in the fucking eyeball. Just really awesome stuff, chat. But yeah, I mean, the writing is the weakest thing here. The plot, the story is the weakest thing here, really. That's what it is. But all the actors do like an admirable job. They have that rapport, they have that chemistry and stuff. It's just they cut corners with the story, and it's like, okay, and that's why I would probably give it a matinee on the double toasted scale, Chad, on the DT scale, if you will, a matinee. But a really entertaining movie, and probably one of the best horror trilogies out there. I think it is. I think kind of it's like, wow, yeah, back to back to back. Each movie was at least good, Chad. Not Nick Good. No, Nick Good is evil. Nick Good is bad. No, it's just regular good. Good, not Goode. No. Thank you for the bus of Jiminy's. Apparently the police didn't take that book because it was right. They're like, whatever. Honestly, the cops here aren't great. They're not good. All movie police, y'all so silly, right? Because love the hot, sweaty sex. And that's what was happening, Koki. That's what was happening. Plot twist. The fly was the real monster behind the curse. It was the fly the whole time. Maybe the fly's the devil. Well, the devil does, this is part of it, the devil does take on the appearance of a fly, so it could be Satan. That could be the devil fly, so. Yeah, and they spared a lot of minorities. A lot of minorities got spared. I mean, some died. Some definitely died. But they spared the majority of the minorities in this entry. No doubt about it. That ghost was doing some Harry Potter ghost in the bathroom shit, very much so. I mean, Sarah Fier, she deserves a chat because she wasn't her, she got blamed for something she didn't do. She's just trying to kiss her girlfriend. That's all she was trying to do. She live her life. Mephisto. They're gonna win the 5 minutes. The fly wanted to revenge all of its dead relatives. Yeah, a lot of dead flies. So the killers only attack if you got blood on them. Why did Ruby attack the little brother? Because he had the blood on him again. And he was fighting her. I think if you engage them in combat, because they were actually fighting them, because they were going towards Dina, and they're like, we got to keep these guys off of her. And so when you fight them, then they'll be like, what the fuck? And they'll come after you. That's because they're like, okay, you're impeding my progress. I have to fight you. I think that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah, the brother got in Ruby's way. Exactly. That's what I figured it was happening. But, yeah. Woo, Chad, but that was a very fun review. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it, my friends. Hey, guy, fucking crazy in there. Nick Good saying all those nasty things. He got what he fucking deserved, Chad. Woo-wee. Oh, Lord. But I hope you liked it, chap. Thank you for all your generosity. We'll be switching over to some gameplay. I'll be playing some Mass Effect 3 in just a second. It'll be a good time. 5 out of 5 and the signs from the time. They did a lot of those. Oh, Lord. Oh, my God. But no, hope you guys enjoyed the review.